Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good. It's finally spring, even though it doesn't always feel like it.
I know, last week I texted one of my friends, like, spring has sprung, because it was like 75 degrees out, and I went to the store wearing shorts, and it was wonderful. And it snowed this week.
Yeah, there was one day where we had like severe thunderstorms in the morning and like snowfall and like blizzard warning in the evening. So it was like a crazy time.
A good time to stay indoors and play some games. I didn't put it in the show notes, but I have been playing more Balatro. I have reached, I think, 30 hours, which is maybe not a giant amount, but I'm trucking through it. I love to just I completed the whole checkered deck. I'm working on the erratic deck right now because I find that to be very fun. But it's such a great game to just pop on for a little bit while you're like watching a podcast or something.
Yeah, I should get back into it. I didn't put it in the show notes. Maybe I should. But I started trying out a solo like physical card game.
What game?
Called Scoundrel, where you just take like a 52 card deck. You remove like all the red like face cards and aces and the jokers, and then you shuffle it up and you take the deck, and that becomes your dungeon. And then you flip 4 cards over, and that's the first room of the dungeon. And if it's like a diamond, that's a weapon. And if it's a heart, that's a health potion. And if it's like a spade or a club, that's a monster. And so you have to deal with, if you're going to deal with any of them, you have to deal with 3 cards in the room. And so you can take the weapon and like whatever the value of the card is, that's how much damage it does. Or like, I guess it's also sort of defense a little bit. And then you fight each of the monsters that are in the room, and I think the jacks are 11, queens are 12, and kings are 13, and then aces are like 14, so the highest damage enemies basically. And so once you clear that, once you deal with 3 of them, you still have 1 card there, you flip 3 more over, and now you're in the next room. And in a room, if it's looking bad, or maybe you get like a bunch of health and weapons and you're like, I don't need this right now, you just like pick up all 4 cards, turn them over, put them in the bottom of the deck, and then you flip the next room over. But you can only do that 1 time in a row, so you can sort of screw yourself over accidentally by doing that. But yeah, you just like you only have 20 health. You can't go over 20 health. So like every time you take damage, you can use like a health potion, but you can only use 1 per room. And so people use like a D20 to like keep track of their health. Or you can just write it down on paper, I guess. But yeah, it's been kind of fun to try that out. And
that's very cool. Yeah. What is it called again? Scoundrel?
Scoundrel. Yeah. And I saw
Is there an online resource for all the rules?
Yeah, I just saw it was like a random YouTube recommendation. I don't even know what would have caused that to end up in my recommendations, but this guy was like, hey, check out this solo card game that I tried out called Scoundrel. And he did like a live sort of playthrough, well, live, but a recorded playthrough showing how the rules work and everything. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And so I tried it out, and it was pretty fun. Wow. Some other people I have seen on like Reddit have done like additional rules or settings for it, where like I think they introduce the jokers back in, and they're like merchants or something like that you can happen upon.
Whoa.
And I don't know how that all works. I need to look up more about that, but it seems like fairly flexible. Like you can introduce some new variables into, but it's like a solo roguelike dungeon crawler, but you use the cards to sort of tell the story. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah. So I didn't put it, maybe I should add it to like what we're playing and watching, because I've been playing a little bit of that every now and then lately. But yeah. Speaking of card games, it made me want to jump into some Balatro. as well.
Well, here's something else about Balatro. I've a little bit been exploring mods for Balatro.
Oh, really? That's
pretty easy to mod. You just need to. So that game is built in Lua, which is crazy. And so you download this little like Lua injector, and then you basically just drop mods into a directory in your like Balatro folder. And there's a big one that's happening right now called Bunko that adds a lot of new jokers and different things. There's also one that is in early stages that is a multiplayer mod where you do versus other people.
Oh,
and there's like a lobby and stuff. I haven't checked that one out, but it's I think eventually he's going to add like support for modding. Right now, you sort of have to hack it and do that Lua injector, but it's very cool. And I if you are going to do it, I would back up your save file just in case, because there's a possibility that it will mess stuff up and you don't want to lose all your progress. So back up your save file, put it somewhere else on your computer, and then if the modding does mess stuff up, you can just uninstall the game, reinstall it, and then drop your save back in that same place, and you should be fine.
Interesting.
But should we get to news?
Yeah, let's jump into some news. Some of this we didn't get to record last week, so I think there are a couple of things in here that might be a couple weeks old at this point, but still worth bringing up because this first one's really interesting to me. Xbox may have a new handheld that will release later this year, and a full next-gen console release targeting 2027. I don't know if you...
The rumor I heard was that they maybe are not going to build this themselves. They're maybe going to have Asus build this for them. Because as you know, everything is an Xbox now. So they're doing this weird thing where they transition to be like, well, your TV is an Xbox and your phone is an Xbox. And so it's interesting that their first handheld might not even be made by them.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before the show started, but it reminds me of how they handled like Windows Phone when they were doing that. They just had different OEMs making it for them, and they just handled all the software. So I guess that makes sense, and maybe that's a way for them to avoid the cost of having to create and build their own hardware.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the risk off of them.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that's kind of awesome, especially if it is like it just runs like a version of Windows that you could also download Steam on.
I'd be interested to see, what the OS is going to be. If they're going to have a specific Xbox OS, like that Steam OS, or if it is going to be Windows-based.
In this article, this is a Windows Central article that we have linked in our show notes, and it says future Xbox games will likely be Windows-oriented, hopefully with Xbox Play Anywhere as a default licensing model. So,
everything's an Xbox.
Everything's an Xbox. And I wonder if they will be able to sort of key into the cloud gaming version of Xbox as well, because that's probably how they make everything in Xbox. Like your TV is not going to have, however much storage space you would need to download Call of Duty. But yeah, I think that's very interesting. And like it dropping later this year is much sooner than I would have expected for this.
I wonder what the time frame for that is. If it's going to be a fall or holiday release, or if they're going to try to do something during Summer Games Fest and take some of the spotlight away from Nintendo.
That's what I was just thinking about. Like, can you imagine if we get that April reveal for the Switch 2 and they're like, hey, this is coming up this fall, and then in June for Summer Games Fest, Microsoft's like, us too, check out our handheld, also releasing this fall.
Yeah.
Although
it would be crazy.
It would be crazy, but I mean, what would you put the odds on Microsoft versus Nintendo in the handheld space? I would definitely put my money on Nintendo, but
I mean, if the rumors are to be believed, the launch lineup for the Switch 2 is going to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's safe to say that there will be more games available for the Xbox handheld, because it will just be an Xbox. So everything that's currently available for the Xbox will probably be on it. But the quality of games, I mean, they have that, Microsoft has that closed ecosystem with all those like super popular games. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it'll be very fun to sort of follow what's going on for Summer Games Fest this year, because
we're almost there.
We're almost there, but we could be having new hardware to talk about, which would be very fun.
What's this Star Wars Tactics game?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but
Oh,
evidently they are teasing a potential Star Wars...
by Respawn.
Yeah, Star Wars tactics-based game developed by BitReactor, which is a studio composed of Firaxis Games veterans, best known for like XCOM. So like if this is a Star Wars XCOM game, I'm very into the sound of that, especially since I've been playing XCOM over the last like couple of months. I haven't played it in a little while, but a couple episodes there we talked about XCOM. So yeah, it supposedly will be revealed during Star Wars Celebration. I don't know when that is. Let me see if I can find it.
I believe it's May the 4th be with you.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah. But yeah, if they do release or do unveil this, I mean, this is like maybe the first Star Wars game that I would be interested in playing in quite some time. Actually, Battlefront.
Did they also make that Midnight Suns?
Firaxis did, yeah. So I don't know if it was this particular developer or not, but yeah, they're definitely known for like turn-based stuff. I have heard that if you like XCOM, that you should check out that Marvel Midnight Suns.
Yeah, because it's very similar, I think.
Yeah, which I might do actually at some point. Based on the fact I've played so much Marvel Rivals, for whatever reason I've been like, it's like Marvel has sort of won me back a little bit, but not in the cinematic universe, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A little bit more of like, what kind of games can you give me? And so I've heard that Midnight Suns is good. It just like maybe didn't sell as well as people thought it would.
I would like to know about this Game Informer thing.
Yeah, so I don't know what to say about it. This podcast, I think, is going to go up like a day before we find out what this means. So perhaps by the time you listen to this episode, this has all been revealed. But Game Informer did put out a very cryptic message on their social media channels this last week that basically says, or it's an image of the home screen of the Game Informer website, which of course, and it's that like, you know, farewell message that is all that's on Game Informer right now if you go there. But at the bottom of it, suddenly some little text comes in that says, what does that say? Console white something?
Right line continue.
And so yeah, people are like, is Game Informer coming back?
It's very interesting because obviously everyone hates GameStop and they're the reason that Game Informer went out of business and like shuttered and all those people were fired. But I saw this information from Kyle Hilliard tweeting about it. And also I was watching the MinMax show and that Charles Hart guy was on, and Ben Hansen was like, oh, some interesting stuff going on the Game Informer website. What's going on? And they kind of playfully were like, oh, I don't know. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? So like, it seems as though people that were previously working at Game Informer, like Charles Hart and Kyle Hilliard, are in the know of something going on. And the other interesting piece to this is that I had forgotten, but I think Rockstar promised a little bit of information about GTA 6 was going to be happening on March 25th. And so people are speculating that not only is Game Informer coming back in some way, but their like first quote unquote cover story is going to be GTA 6.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Which is interesting, but it's weird because, again, everyone hates GameStop, and they have basically pulled this twice now, where like first they did that huge layoff, which was the creation of MinMax, and then they did more layoffs, and then they just shuttered and like sold off the offices. And so would be crazy to me if people like Cal Hilliard and Charles Hart were like, oh, we'll definitely go back to work for this company. but maybe that's what's
either
happening.
that, or it's possible that Game Informer was like sold to them, and maybe they're creating their own like independent version of Game Informer, and they're able to like take the website and everything, and maybe they're going to bring it back that way. I don't know. Would they like, how much would that cost to be able to do?
I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, oh, it makes sense that because they just wiped the whole thing off of the internet. That's just the one. I mean, everyone was lamenting like the decades of articles that are no longer available because they just got wiped. And it would be part of it kind of makes sense to me where Game Informer is just like, no, let's strip this whole thing. Let's even strip the brand. We don't need this brand anymore. It means nothing to us. Let's just sell it to someone else. And so someone else purchased it, like it's like The Onion or something. And now it's under a different umbrella, but it is still Game Informer, and they have the assets for like everything, and they're able to unlock the website and stuff. Because that seems the most viable to me, because I really don't think that people would go back to work for GameStop, but maybe
it's hard to say, because Kyle Hilliard famously did do that, where he was one of the people laid off.
He did
initially in that big wave of layoffs that sort of had the result of starting MinMax, but he did eventually go back after I think he wrote for some other outlets for a while, but he eventually went back to Game Informer. So I don't know. Yeah, it could also be less like a revival of Game Informer and more of a, hey, we were working on this for a long time, and this was going to be a cover story, and we had all this stuff, and Rockstar was like, we don't want this coverage that we had you do because we want to be covered. We don't want this to die off. So it could just be something small like Rockstar plus like the former Game Informer people being like, yeah, we're going to finish what we started with this preview coverage, and we're going to get it out there in some way. So it could be less of a Game Informer's back, and at least the cover story and all the work that went into that is finally going to see the light of day. But hard to say until...
It's interesting. We have until Tuesday. So 25th is Tuesday,
I believe
correct?
It's Tuesday.
Or is it Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So we'll know that day. But I was not expecting anything like this. I thought we had heard the last of Game Informer. I thought it was totally
I did as
dead.
well. But it would make sense that if like former Game Informer people wanted to take like their own version of MinMax and create something with just the people that used to be there, I could see them doing that as well. So who knows if they would be able to call it Game Informer, but maybe they just call it something else.
Well, if they have the website, you would think that it would still be. I guess I don't know. I'd like to talk about Minecraft. Minecraft Live occurred, and they revealed a bunch of new things. There's no mob vote this year. They've done away with mob voting. But there are there's two interesting things and one funny thing that we need to talk about. Because they are adding some stuff to the game as they do every year. The first big thing they're adding is a new Vibrant mode, which I think is going to be the default mode. And so obviously, years ago they had Minecraft RTX, which NVIDIA put out. This is not that. But it is basically putting in a thing to the game that people, the Java edition, have had for a very long time, which is basically shaders. So you get this like volumetric light, and everything looks a little nicer, like the grass kind of sways. The Vibrant mode, which I think will be the default mode, and you can turn it off if you want, will basically make the game look a lot nicer, give it a huge graphical upgrade, which I'm very excited about. And it's coming to, this is the most important part, it's coming to Bedrock Edition as well as Java Edition, because previous to this, Java Edition could do whatever. I mean, you can make Java Edition look like real life, basically, with mods. But Bedrock, there's never really been like modding support for that. And so they've only ever really had what Minecraft looks like, basically. And so they're going to get this upgrade to make like sunsets look beautiful and to just like make everything look super nice. So that's exciting. That's the first thing. Second thing, they're adding a new block/mob. Famously, if you go to the Nether, there's a bunch of bad things that can kill you. Most notably is the Ghast. The Ghast is a big white block thing that has little tentacles and goes around and shoots fireballs at you. Scary thing if you're playing like survival and you just need to go to the Nether to get something. But it's like, that fireball can like blast you off the edge and get you in the lava. It's a Ghast is a scary enemy. However, now they have added a little block you can find in the Nether that is a little sad Ghast baby. And you can collect it, bring it into the overworld, put water on it, and then after it has water on it for a while, it will become a Ghastling, which is a small Ghast that's very cute, and it follows you around and kind of makes cooing noises. And then if you feed it snowballs, it will turn into a happy Ghast. And that is the big thing, it is a Ghast-sized Ghast that you can tame and basically ride. And so now you have the ability to fly in regular Minecraft, which people have been asking for a long time because you really can only do that in creative. And so if you want to make these very cool giant structures and you want to like be able to fly around to make them, you either need to, and the only way you could do that in survival was to like build scaffolding basically, and it was a real pain. But now you can just tame a Ghast and fly around on it to make your builds, and it makes everything a lot easier. And also, 4 people can fly on a Ghast at one time, which is cool. Like, it's great for multiplayer. They also added the ability. They had a little bar at the bottom of the screen that will, it's like a compass basically, where when you turn around, you can see your friends, and then you can go in that direction basically. So there was a compass you could craft back in the day, but that would only ever point to your spawn point. Now you have a visual representation at all times of what direction your friends are in if you're playing online. So I think this is a very cool addition. And both of these updates make me want to check out Minecraft again because it's always changing and they're always making it better. When was the last time you played Minecraft, Zach?
I have never played Minecraft.
That's wild to me. We should have a server. We should check out a server sometime.
Maybe. This makes me think of in No Man's Sky how they added pets and like some of them fly and you can ride on them. And that can be like a fun way to get around the map.
It's very adorable because also the happy Ghast, when you tame it, it has like a little old school flight helmet on it, one of those like leather flight helmets with goggles. And then when you get on it, the goggles go down over its eyes. So it's like a little flying guy, which is very adorable. Now, the third thing, it's an action figure of Steve from Minecraft.
So Jack Black.
It's so Jack Black. Yeah, it's a Jack Black action figure. Isn't this weird?
It is very weird because I clicked on the link you have in the show notes of the Amazon listing. And in the box, you can say, oh, okay, this is a Minecraft movie thing. Out of the box, you're like, is there just an action figure of Jack Black?
Yeah. If you didn't know what the Minecraft movie was and you just saw a kid with this action figure, you'd be like, oh, this is just a very real looking Jack Black action figure. Why does this exist? He's wearing jeans. He's wearing jeans,
yeah.
I just thought this was a weird thing.
It is a weird thing. I'll give you that. You would think that a Minecraft action figure would be a little more blocky.
Well, I mean, Minecraft action figures have existed for a long time. If you go to Target these days, there's a whole aisle of the toy section that is just Minecraft stuff. And they even have like creator things where like famous Minecraft creators, you can like buy their model of a Minecraft character. But Steve and like, I forget what the girl's name is, but both of them have existed and you can buy like wolves and creepers and whatnot. But this is the first one where it's just like a dude. I almost want to buy one just because I think it's so funny, but it's not worth like $30 to me.
Yeah. That's also it seems steep for a action figure from a movie. I guess I don't know the market for action figures these days, but
They showed some more footage from the movie at Minecraft Live as well, but anything revelatory about that. But yeah, Minecraft Live happened. I think it's different from Minecon. I'm kind of outside of the community, but I also don't know when these changes are going live, the vibrant graphics or the ghast update. So could be, I think it's in an upcoming snapshot. I don't think it's available now. But Minecraft, it's great. Everyone should check it out every once in a while. It's always changing. If you played it a couple of years ago, I have to tell you, it's probably very different now. So it's a game. It's one of the few I would almost call it a live service game because they're constantly adding stuff to it. It's one of the few games that I never am disappointed when I return to it. It's like every couple of years you can just go back and there's so many new things, and it's like so addictive to build a little like a little place, and then eventually you forget about it, and then 2 years later you do it again.
It's very similar to my journey with No Man's Sky, where it's not a game as service and there's not like battle passes or anything like that, but it's like constantly getting new free content. So every time you do get the urge to jump back in, it's gonna be a little bit different and in like cool, interesting ways. And you can spend basically an infinite amount of time just like exploring and building stuff. So yeah.
Great to have a little game like that. And I still am not into it having the two builds, like the Bedrock and the Java edition. I wish that I'm primarily a Java player, and I wish that I didn't have to play Bedrock if I wanted to play on multiple devices. But it's still great. As long as Java exists, as long as the Java edition exists, it's great. I'm always afraid they're going to just say Java edition doesn't need to exist anymore, so we're just going Bedrock mode. That would be a nightmare. But hopefully that will never happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing because normally you would think, okay, well, they're going to make a sequel so they can capitalize on sales or whatever. But there are a bunch of games that just like are forever updated, and they like, I'm sure it's the similar situation for Minecraft as it is for No Man's Sky, where if you look at how the game visually looks now versus when it first launched, you go, oh, this could have been a sequel, but they just kept throwing updates at it, and now it looks, super different, super upgraded.
Bedrock Edition is a lot of the reason why they're able to do that, because unfortunately Bedrock Edition has a ton of microtransactions in it, and so that alone can sustain like development year after year. I think they're not really making extra money on Java because you basically I bought Java once like 10 years ago for like $17, and now I just always have it. But that Bedrock Edition is where the real cash cow is, because they do collaborations with like Pokemon and I feel like every new big IP that comes out, they're like, now you can buy a Fast and Furious mod pack for Bedrock Edition where you get cars or something, or like there's a Star Wars world.
It's like the single player Fortnite.
Exactly. Yeah. But so I get that Bedrock needs to exist for that reason, but hopefully Java will always remain and will just continue to be updated. It'll get the benefits of Bedrock being updated. But I'd like to talk about Silksong now.
Is it time to talk about Silksong?
I am a little bit of a Silksong truther. I believe that it does exist and will come out eventually. Both of us have now played it. This has been coming out for so long that I eventually found it. Or sorry, Silksong. Yeah. It's been in the works for so long that I found Hollow Knight years ago, played all the way through it, loved it, and started thinking about Silksong all the time. And then like a year passed or 2 years passed, and then you got into Hollow Knight, played all the way through it, and now you are anticipating Silksong. It still has not come out, but people speculate. People are constantly speculating every day, every hour of every day, when it will come out. And there's a new rumor that it possibly will come out and possibly coincide with the release, as we're going to talk about in a second, of the Switch 2. But they say the new placeholder date for the release of Silksong is June 2025, at the latest, is what it says. And we'll talk about it in a second, but that's also, it seems to be what people sources are pointing to for the Switch 2 release, which adds flames to the fire, I believe, that it will be a Switch 2 launch title. But, Zach, we could be less than 3 months away from Silksong releasing.
That's crazy. Yeah, this the article we have also says it's going to be a day one Game Pass release.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was, I think, wasn't that the first place we ever saw? Well, no, I guess it was at that Nintendo Treehouse in like 2017 or something. But they started their like E3 in like 2019 or 2020 or no, probably 2019 was the last E3, I think. So I think Xbox started their E3 with Silksong. That was like the first thing they showed, which was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Like, and then there was the year that they said, everything you see here is coming out within the next year. Yeah. They showed Silksong, and it did not come out in the next year.
Very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I played Hollow Knight for the first time last year because I was convinced that 2024 would be the year, and it ended up not being. So yeah, if it finally comes out in June, I mean, so yeah, let's walk through it. So in April, they revealed the Switch 2, and they're like, hey, this is coming out in June. And then at Summer Games Fest, we get the reveal of Silksong is a hot drop coming out on the Switch 2. And we're able to get both the Switch and Silksong and whatever other launch titles they have for the Switch 2. That would be crazy.
I wonder what the timeline would be, because I wonder if Nintendo would just be like, here's this, like, in that April 3rd or April 2nd reveal they're doing in 2 weeks. I wonder if they'll be like, here's our crazy launch lineup, and it will include Silksong. Or if they will just say, here's a bunch of first-party stuff, and then we won't get it until... I almost think it won't hot drop, because I feel like I don't know. I've talked about this in the podcast before, but I feel like they would be crazy not to sell a collector's edition. Because I feel like so many people would buy like $100 worth of Silksong edition of just like, you get a map, and the map is what I really want, and like charms and all that other stuff. I don't know if there's charms, but yeah, I don't know that would be truly wild to me. That would be such a crazy get for Keeley. If at Games Fest he was like, guess what? It's available now. That would almost make me stop watching Game Fest and just go download it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, as much as I would love to have like a physical collector's edition of Silksong, like as soon as it becomes available, I also think that there's a solid chance that they are just going to ship the game digitally the way they did with Hollow Knight, and then later they'll be like, here's the physical version, why don't you double dip on this? And I mean, people will do it.
That's a good point, because it also it cuts into the margin to produce game discs or cartridges. Like, you have to pay money to create those, whereas if you release it digitally, it's just profit, basically. Is my, and
especially with it being like a new platform, the Switch 2, like, are they really gonna have like this huge launch ready to go for physical copies of whatever platform it's on?
I don't know. I mean, here's the real thing. Here's the real question, Zach, for us. How are we playing this? What platform are we playing this on?
I mean, if the Switch 2 does come out in June and it is like a Switch 2 sort of launch window title, it's going to be hard to not want to play whatever comes out at that particular time on the Switch 2, because it's like the new thing that I have.
True.
And so if Silksong's available on it, I will probably try to play it on that platform. But I mean, I would be happy to play it on PS5, or I don't know. I doubt I will re-up my Game Pass sub just to play Silksong. I think I would rather just buy it on Switch 2, but maybe maybe it makes sense to do the Game Pass sub to play it on Game Pass and then save my Switch playthrough of it for when a big physical edition comes out.
Here's the thing, Zach, and maybe this is not as much on your radar as it is on mine, but I am going to be resubscribing to Game Pass in May for Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so maybe I'll complete it in May and just unsubscribe, or I might still be subscribed in June.
It's true. If you sub for that in May, you could just keep it rolling right through Silksong and then unsub.
I don't know. It's because I want to own it is the thing, and so kind of playing on Game Pass, I'm just like, I don't know, should I?
Well, and that's why it's going to depend on whether they do launch with physical copies or whether they are digital only at first, and then you have to wait.
It's an exciting time, Zach. I think it's going to be a good game fest.
Yeah, Summer it could be very exciting. We could have like Xbox hardware. We could have Silksong. It's going to be fun to watch, I think.
Could be a new Mario. Could be a new Donkey Kong. We still don't really know what the launch lineup is.
All the launch lineup for the Switch 2. I mean, very exciting times.
I'm still of the mind that UFO 50 and Hades 2 are going to be on the Switch 2 at launch. And so those are two other games which I have been like holding on because I want them to come out on Switch. It's going to be too many games.
It will be a crazy time if you have all the like first-party Nintendo launch games that are on Switch 2, however many that could be. It could be 1, it could be like 3. You could have Silksong, you could have UFO 50, and also, I mean, I assume the entire backlog of Switch 1 stuff will still be there, but you'll just have so much to play.
There is a game that's going to come out that I don't have to worry about playing. There's a new Katamari game coming out, which I would normally be very excited about, but it's only on Apple Arcade.
Oh, why that route?
Great question. So the plot of this one is that the King of the Cosmos is getting into live streaming on Twitch or some fake version of Twitch. And so that's why you're rolling around in this one, which is very funny. And this game is probably going to be great, but I don't have any interest in playing it on a touchscreen. I would love to have physical controls. But a new Katamari game is being released soon. Unfortunately, it is locked into the Apple Arcade ecosystem.
Well, so it might eventually get a port. I think we've seen that happen in the past with Apple Arcade games, where they start on Apple Arcade and then they eventually get ported. So this could still potentially get like a release on like Switch, for instance, and that just you have your normal Switch controls as opposed to the touchscreen stuff. So
I would love it. It's called Katamari Damacy Rolling Live is what it's called. But I love Katamari Damacy.
Do you? I've never played it, but people love it.
One final news item, which we basically have talked about, but there's that cool looking kind of like 3D, 2D game, or it's 3D, but your character is 2D and you're like a little bear or whatever with a hood on. This game looks very cool. I always see trailers for it because it's been in development for a while, called Ruffy and the Riverside. But it's coming out on Switch, too. I think we have confirmed. I think in one of the trailers it said coming out for Switch, too. And they just recently were like, oh, FYI, this game's release is going to launch on June 16th or 26th. And so people are now speculating that that's actually the Switch 2's release date because it will be their day and date with the Switch 2. But obviously we won't know for 2 weeks. But this could be in the montage of games coming if they do like here's what you can expect on launch day for Switch 2, which could be June 26th.
Interesting. Yeah, if that ends up revealing the Switch 2 launch date on accident, that's kind of funny. But
it would be crazy if Rough in the Riverside is the thing that told us the release date.
Yeah, a game no one will remember.
But I like the look of this game a lot because it's got such a unique style. It's like your character is just a 2D sprite, but he's running around, or they're running around in this like 3D world, and also everyone else is a 2D sprite. And also, I think the main hook of this game is that like you can like pull the properties off of something and put it into another thing. I should have posted a trailer for this because it looks really cool in motion. But who knows? This could be a game we play on Switch too.
Could be a little Paper Mario like maybe.
Yeah, it's actually very similar to Paper Mario. That's a good, excellent interpretation of it. Yeah.
Well, let's get into what we've been playing and watching.
Zach, the Severance Season 2 finale happened this week.
I have heard that happened.
It was very good. I liked it a lot. It was like an hour and 17 minutes. It was a little movie. I still think the first season finale is slightly better just because that's maybe one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. But this one was very solid. Had some excellent sequences. They're really good at ending a season in like a period of time where you're not sure what's going to happen next. There's a lot of uncertainty. All the characters are in interesting situations. So who knows what's going to happen in season 3, but it did get renewed for season 3. Hopefully it will take less time to happen because there hopefully won't be another writer's strike. But yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Apple TV Plus, or whatever it's called, is available on Android devices now. And if you've never subscribed to it, you can get 7 days for free by subscribing and then immediately unsubscribing. But I have to say, season 1 and 2 of Severance are like peak television, very, very good television that I can't recommend enough. Definitely worth a free 7-day subscription that you cancel before it actually goes into effect.
Yeah, I keep hearing nothing but good things about it, and everybody's recommending it. It's sort of akin to like Game of Thrones right now, where it's like the one TV show that if you ever open social media at all or listen to any podcast, you're gonna hear somebody talking about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I will dip my toes into Apple TV and try to marathon the first 2 seasons.
I mean, if you can make it, like, I would say once you get to like episode 3 of the first season, you're hooked and you just want to keep watch. I mean, I don't know what it's like to watch this as a binge, because I watched it as it was airing back in the day, and I watched season 2 as it was airing, and also had to wait like 2.5 years in between season 1 and 2. So to watch it all in the span of 7 days, I think would be crazy, but probably very fun.
Yeah, maybe I will do that and find out, and I'll be able to report back on it.
I also have been playing more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I made it all the way through the entire Golden Saucer and under the Golden Saucer section, and I am now driving around in my buggy looking for stuff to do. Oh,
yeah. The buggy part, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm loving it. Zach, when you get to the Golden Saucer in the original game, there's a little bit of fanfare, but it's mostly just walking from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen. And man, the cutscene that happens when you get to the Golden Saucer in this is insane. And my jaw was on the floor for like the 6 minutes everything was taking place. It blew my mind.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff going on at Golden Saucer. A lot of mini games there, though. Did you partake in many of them?
They make you do it, most of them, I think, because the first thing that happens is, you go to a hotel, and then they're like, check out every square, basically. And so you have to go to every square, do the mini game at least once, and then you can progress to the next one. And then eventually they're like, okay, now do the sky wheel. And then you try to do the sky wheel, and then some bad stuff happens you have to deal with. But I loved it. Probably my least favorite was the like Star Fox-esque one, and that was also my least favorite in the original game because I don't really care about that. But the Chocobo racing was fun. The Battle Square was very fun. And it's great. It's such a lovingly rendered version of that old game. I have Kate Sith now, who's very fun to play with. I have a buggy. I did not know that Kate Sith was like extremely Scottish or Irish or whatever. That's a crazy take for that character. But yeah, it's been great. I'm loving it.
I will stay tuned for more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth updates.
Yes.
Especially, as you get later on in the game, I think it'll be more interesting to hear your take on stuff that happens.
I have to be at least halfway done, I would think.
Yeah, I think at this point you are, yeah.
I will report back.
Nothing super interesting on my end. I've mostly just still been playing Marvel Rivals and Chivalry 2 every now and then. I've just been rotating back and forth between those two games. I do want to jump back into Pirate Yakuza and Monster Hunter, but every now and then I'm just like, I should play a game. It's time for playing games with my free time. And I sit down, I'm like, yeah, let me just knock out some Marvel Rival challenges. And that ends up being my night. And I am like, okay, well, that was fun. Time for bed. No time for more Monster Hunter and Pirate Yakuza just yet. But I did knock out all of the unlocks for the current season. So I might put Marvel Rivals now on the back burner for a little while. So yeah. Chivalry 2 is just one of those, like, I'm bad at it, but it's so silly and fun to play that, I talked about it when it first came out and I was playing a lot of it then, but it's like you just get in there and you start swinging your weapon around, and it's so satisfying to like land hits on enemies and get all the numbers to pop up and to get kills with it. But you're also like playing a team objective as well, and you have like team support abilities. So it's a fun game, I have to say. I don't know how much longer I will still be into it, but for now I'm enjoying jumping back in at least like once or twice a week to just like have a crazy time with. But and then the only other thing is the card game that we talked about, Scoundrel, which I think is worth looking up if you've never played it before.
I am going to look it up. I actually don't know if I have a deck of cards, but I have been looking at buying the Balatro deck of cards, so maybe I will do that.
Oh, there's Scoundrel. A Balatro deck?
There is. It's. I mean, it isn't all. What I want is all the Jokers, but I think it only comes with like 4 or 5 Jokers. And I also would like to pick the deck because I think I would want the erratic deck or the checkered deck as the background, or maybe this the ghost, the spectral deck or whatever. But I don't know which deck it is actually that is the backing. But yeah, I think it's available everywhere. You can just, if you search for Balatro deck, actually that will probably bring up a lot of like how-tos and articles. But there is a physical deck you can buy. It's like an official one.
If it's on Amazon, I might have to do that.
It's I don't remember. I think it comes with that Gross Michelle, the regular Joker that's just gives you +4. Blueprint, maybe? I actually don't know what the 4 Jokers are. Definitely the first banana and that just like classic Joker that gives you +4 molt.
Yeah, I need to get back into that game. Between talking to you about more Balatro and a friend of the show, Ryan, who did our music, he's been texting me about how he's gotten into Balatro recently, and it's made me very much want to jump back in because I have not played in a while. But
I gotta say, so how far did you unlock all the decks?
No, my playtime was split across like multiple platforms, so I probably did not like. I would make it so far on PC, and then I would start playing it on a different platform and get caught up to where I was there, and then I would switch to a different platform or something like that. So I should just jump back in and try to progress and unlock the rest of the decks and stuff. But
that checkered deck, I think, is my favorite, right? At least right now, because that's the one where it's only, I think, spades and hearts. And so it's still 52, but it's just double spades, double hearts. And so it's extremely easy to make flushes in that. And that allows you to climb the ranks pretty quickly. And then now you're doing all the extra stakes and you get the extra interesting things like eternal Jokers and like extra weird things that happen and different blinds and whatnot. The checker deck, I think, is what a lot of people get their first gold stake win on, just because it allows you to progress so easily. That one is a very, very fun deck, but it's towards the end of the decks you can get.
Are you playing it on PC primarily?
Yeah, so I typically I play it on my computer, and then I also have a little laptop with a touchscreen, and that is very fun to play because I can just drag the cards around with my finger. I think it's also I mean, you've played it on more platforms than me, I think, but I only play it on Steam so that my progress is like saved between my laptop and my desktop.
Yeah, I've played some on PC, but also some on Steam Deck, so that the progress would carry over. But I don't remember if I think I have played it on Switch and I've played it on Android. But obviously, if I'm jumping back and forth between like my tablet or my phone, then that progress is going to carry over.
Sure.
But it is like different progress between like the 3 platforms. So.
It's such a perfect game, I have to say. And the more I play it, the more I'm like, it maybe should have won Game of the Year. It's definitely my Game of the Year from last year, but it's great.
Yeah, I'll still toss my hat in the ring for Like a Dragon, but I'm very high on Balatro as well. So, on that note, do you have any parting wisdom?
Hold on. Let me look up a Tapir fact. I'm still loving
You gotta have these just on recall.
I know.
At the ready.
I meant to do it. There's 4 different types of tapirs, Zach. There's a Baird's tapir, a South American tapir, a mountain tapir, and a Malayan tapir.
Whoa.
They all look very similar, but they have different coats. And probably the one you've seen the most is the Malayan tapir, because that's the one that is black, but the middle/back part of it is white. But the one that's more indigenous to where we're at is the Baird's tapir, which is also very adorable. And I think my favorite one is Baird's tapir. But they're all great. And I think everyone should have a favorite tapir. So go to Wikipedia, look up tapirs, and take a look at each of them and decide what your favorite is. And put it in the comments.
Yeah, send us a comment with your favorite tapir. And also, if you know any tapir facts that we haven't said on the show yet, go ahead and
post them.
Let's talk tapirs in the comments. Not games.
Talkin' tapirs. We're rebranding this podcast to be called Talkin' Tapirs.
Talkin' tapirs. Oh, can you imagine if a tapir could talk? What would it sound like?
I would love it. Probably it would sound like, what was that Pokemon you said they look like?
Oh, yeah, Drowsy?
Probably would sound like Drowsy.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Well, on that note, go ahead and follow this podcast on Spotify and YouTube Music, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.